Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and I'm today joined by my wonderful co-host, Zach Finch. And Zach.
I predicted it. I called it. The only difference was it wasn't on a Onuachu goal. It was almost an Onuachu goal.
Yeah.
Look, straight out of the playbook, isn't it?
Our tagline for the longest time has been, "It's the hope that kills you." And I don't think it's ever really been truer than at several points during that game yesterday, right? Because
it's the same story, mate. We were really good in spells for 10, 20 minutes there. We had a really good bit of time where we were on the ball and we looked going forward, we actually looked dangerous. But it was a couple of moments where we switched off and the other players scored, blah-diddy-blah, diddy-blah, diddy-blah. The substitutions were weird. Who do we start? It doesn't matter. Season's gone, mate.
But literally that. Like, we started well, and then on hope, it's like, oh man, we're playing some good football here. We're getting forward quick. We're creating some chances. Like it's a bit end to end. We're not like dominating the game, but we're playing some nice football. It's coming together. What we've been preaching the whole time about giving Juric a chance to settle in, it's coming good. And then they scored, and then they scored again. And then we went to the standard thing of mentalities don't exist in our team.
And then pass it around out from the back. Ramsdale almost lost the ball as many times as he made good saves. Like, don't get me wrong, putting some cracking saves yesterday, and I know that people are going to miss him when he's gone. But also, like, the amount of times where he just risked it well too much and just needed to kick the ball up. I don't understand why we've sort of reverted to passing out from the back again.
Yeah, but then when he was kicking the ball up, it wasn't going anywhere, and that was
because then you manage to hit. If you hit Onuachu, it's great, but then he can't control the ball enough to actually keep it.
No, or if he does, there's no one up there running forward with him. That's the other problem when he does bring it down. And Sulemana has a tendency to give up way too easily, whereas if he just keeps running at a ball, I think he'd get almost like 30% more balls than he does.
I think it's conserving the pace though, right? Because if he did that every single time, the thing that actually makes him a standout doesn't make him a standout anymore.
Yeah,
and that's what I think with him. But I guess we should start by talking about the lineups, right? So we kind of predicted another weird left back, centre back situation, and it didn't end up as strange as we previously thought. We actually just brought in Nathan Wood, which was good right up until it wasn't.
I don't think Wood had a particularly bad game. I mean, he got whipped off at half time. I don't know if that's because of match fitness or as a tactical. I mean, we'll get to tactics of the second half later because that might be a whole episode in itself. But yeah, I don't think he was awful. Bree for me had a much worse game.
Yeah, agreed. Just kept leaving stuff that he shouldn't have left. It was bizarre. Like, for me, ironically, that should be the performance that makes you go, maybe we should put Bella Kotchap in just to try. But I don't think it's going to happen because I feel like if they're going to if he's going to keep pushing Joe Aribo of all people back into centre back constantly, instead of putting on a centre back because of the weird way that apparently we want our centre backs to work, I just don't see him.
But then it looked like Aribo was playing centre back, but then also at one point he ended up after that up a right wing,
attacking
and then
right. Yeah, this is the problem. I think you pointed out in our last Tactics Tuesday there isn't really a shape at all. It's mad market. So because of that, stuff just happens. But then the problem is that I genuinely don't think we have enough players that are good enough to man mark because every single time they lose their man, they lose their man. And that's why we end up getting
really seems to suit is Yanni B, who managed to play pretty much out of his skin for the entire game, and that's been said a lot this season. But also, I think he was at fault for the first goal. So,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? This is what I mean. Like, it's the story of our season. It's then down back to individual errors. Like, it just doesn't. I was watching the build up, like when they were in the tunnel, and it was just every single one of them seemed like separate individuals. I just started to feel like I don't even know what anyone's trying to achieve anymore. I feel bad for Juric because, and I feel bad for the people that are going to see it. You are one of the people that consistently pays to have to go and see this. I feel bad for the fact that we get like talking about how bad our football is we've just become like a bit of the joke team, and it's just really sad to see. Like at first you could kind of have a laugh with it, I think, and not only that, like the few sort of homegrown talents we do have, we then chastise massively anyway. Like I don't have a vendetta against Smallbone, but it does feel like a lot of people do, right? Like he's not played great.
He seemed
It
like
was
the
weird.
easy scapegoat. I was going to loop back to that actually. Speaking of the
So
lineups,
yeah,
but actually,
Smallbone instead of Ugachukwu was a bit bold.
But I don't think he was bad. I think Aribo was worse.
Agreed.
I don't think he had a couple of misplaced passes, but I don't think he was bad enough to get the reception he got when he was taken off. The ironic cheering that he was coming off the pitch. I don't think that was warranted. I don't think that's fair.
It's like I understand it's hard, right? Because I understand that we are watching some really bad stuff. I understand that people are getting frustrated and wound up. I don't necessarily understand why we seem to think that jeering at our own players at that level is going to help anymore.
No.
Because like morale is already shot to pieces anyway, right? Like you cannot. It's really difficult because I also can fully understand the hatred of Sports Republic, the position we're in, and like all of these factors that have got us here. This over reliance on Martin, what's coming out now seemingly to be everybody in his dog, like their dog was his guys and they're his favorite. So like Ramsdale literally said in an interview recently, he came out and said that one of the only reasons he came to join was Russell Martin. Similar sort of with Lallana, who, let's face it, just is here. Like I love Lallana dearly. I thought he was a great player for us back when. What difference has he made this season apart from getting his managerial credits up? Right? Like, yeah, okay, he spends 10 minutes on the ball raising the other players. Well, it doesn't matter if we're 3-0 down, right? And then we have just a space being wasted. And there's so much that is creating this sort of atmosphere of negativity. And I understand completely why. I just don't know if anyone even knows how to feel or how to resolve it. Like I certainly don't. It just really sucks. And like I agree with you that it sucks that we are at a space where, a player, one of our own, we were there when, he scored in like the playoff semi-finals and stuff like that, and everyone you sort of to where we are now, where like our savior of last season isn't even getting on the pitch because everyone hates him. It's just so weird. Everything just seems a bit. What do we do, Greg? Anyway, back to the game. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's bad, and like we're the first on this podcast to criticise Will Smallbone, and we both, I think, had raised eyebrows at his inclusion in the starting lineup. But I don't think he had an awful game. I don't think he was spectacular by any stretch of the imagination. He wasn't setting the world on fire, but I think there were players around him that came off worse from what I could see. But the fact of the matter is, we did get completely run over in the midfield.
Yeah, we did.
And that's part of his responsibility. So
which he tried to kind of resolve, and we had spells that were better in the second half. But I don't think that necessarily I think that people, you can put it down to team selection, and I think that it's like, why can't he find his perfect 11? Why can't he find his right 11? Because it's like everything he's picked seems to either not be clicking or will click for one game and then just suck the next.
I guess it's also because 4 of our best players are fullbacks.
Yeah, no, you're right. So, it will be what it will be. But like, we'll actually, besides all of the upset and the people being switched out and the consistent, I don't know, morose attitude that I unfortunately bring, Greg, to balance out your blind delusional optimism. I guess we'll talk about that after a word from our sponsors, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, yeah. So I guess let's try and hone in on the first half a bit. And and we started off all right. Like, we were hanging in there until we conceded. But what I will say about both the first 2 goals is they weren't like daft goals. They were just nicely created. Like I said, Jan Bednarek was at fault for the first goal, but I don't really think he was. He was up there competing for the ball. He just got beat to it in a 50-50, realistically.
Bournemouth are just a better teammate. That's where I'm at. Like, we both watched the Super Bowl the other week. I was really sad that my team lost. You were really happy that your team won.
Go Birds.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where, like, they just dominated. They were better, right? And it feels like at the moment our team are not any better than any other team. Like, we really had to put in a performance at Ipswich to get anything out of it, and we did. But today, the gulf between us and Bournemouth and the way they play and like everything, I guess, about them as a club is really evident. It's still not a derby, just as FYI.
Yeah.
But it showed, and I think you're right. Like, the problem is that we don't have that level of threat going into the box, right? Like, we get into the box, spend so long to pull the trigger that there's 10 men behind the ball already. We pull the trigger and we hit a person, and then everyone's too scared.
That we scored was Camaldine lashing his foot at the ball out of frustration, and it finding its way into the net.
Yeah, and he did that a few times, and I don't really blame him. And it's the same, we had a couple of breakout moments, in the second half, which we'll talk about soon, with like Matty Fernandez and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just, I think that the same thing happened. Is we stayed in it, and then they scored, and then our heads dropped, and then they managed to score 2 minutes later. And by that point, we're still shell shocked. We're 2-0 down, and unfortunately it then follows the script of how a lot of the games have been this season. And you can replace the manager. At this point, I wonder if you could just replace every single 11 players and it will play out the same way. It's so weird. It's like something in the air.
The second goal as well was particularly disappointing because just no one got out to him to get close to him. Like, he just shouldn't have been allowed that much space to take the shot. And whilst obviously it was a beautiful strike, and you can't argue with that, he shouldn't have been given the time or space to do it. We just didn't. It just goes back to the midfield just being walked all over. He just sauntered through and found the time to pick a shot into the corner of the net, and
it'd be interesting to see what we do with this rebuild and whether or not we keep like this sort of like 2 kind of guys hanging back at the back of the midfield, which we've kind of kept for a while now, or whether we just actually, I don't know. I feel that is a place that we can easily be kind of walked over, right?
Yeah.
And I worry about, like, we'll probably lose Les. At this rate, we're losing Flynn, because I very much doubt he wants to play unless he just kind of gets over it. Or we do something really weird and decide to bring back Russell Martin for the Championship. That'd be funny. Sorry if I've just rattled anyone, didn't mean to. I genuinely, but also, like, it's like we've discussed before, right? Discussions about the manager are kind of mad. I understand why people are there, but I genuinely don't bring a third manager. Do you remember the last time that happened? We still got relegated. It just you wonder how long it's going to take for things to start clicking and how long. And I think the problem is at the moment is a lot of the players that are still at the club don't really want to move into these like new roles, this new system.
Yeah.
You shouldn't still be banging on this much about your previous boss and how much you loved him. That's where I'm at. Like,
yeah,
I get
it's weird.
I understand why. I just find it really weird to especially go to the media about it. And
I actually think that we saw parts in parts of this game, we saw bits of it coming together. And there are still those gaps. The main difference, obviously, I know what you say about the quality showing through and them just being a better team than us, but actually it comes back to a point I think I've been making for months now, is that actually they just look like they have more energy than us the entire time. Like, their press was intense, and
but then also our substitutions make that as well. Like, they know what their roles are going to be. They don't look disappointed to come off. There's no difficulty. They're built for that system, right? They know that they're going to give 60 minutes high intensity and then they're going to be swapped out.
Yeah.
And I think that it seems with our lot, it does seem to sort of, the plan is so differing from game to game. The subs are made at completely different times sometimes. You don't know if they're enough to make an impact. We keep bringing Archer on at like the last gasp to get, I don't know, something, but it ends up not ever happening. So yeah, I think
that that's another thing that I think we'll come back to, because I just don't think it's fair on Archer because I think he's
it's
better than
not
that.
at all. And I think this is the thing: is that we'll have to see what happens at the end of the season. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see like Jan Bednarek, like the only player still here. And that sounds weird and but I'm genuinely starting to think like what's gonna happen at the end of the season with all these players and if they even want to play together anymore. And it's difficult. But I agree with you also. Like we did start to see shoots of it. The problem is that when you see the shoots of something when we're already 2-0 down, and like the idea of us winning would require us to score at that point 3 goals, which I'm pretty sure we haven't done this season in a single game.
Yeah. Okay. Look, you're not wrong. But we battled through to half time without conceding any more.
Yeah.
And admittedly, there was a goal line clearance, I think, from them. Like we got back and almost had a couple of opportunities, but we saw out the half really and got to half time. And after a message from our partners at Zencastr, we'll come back and talk to you about the second half. So, here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. Okay, we're back. So yeah, then the second half comes about, and you know what? We came out and we stunk the joint up. We did not start the second half well. Frankly, we were lucky to not go 3-0 behind.
We're going to talk
on.
about the subs, the fact that this was the point where, for some reason, so Wellington was replaced by Sugawara, who was moved onto the right.
Which kind of makes sense because I presume Wellington, we're still managing minutes. He was out injured for a few months before he came to us.
Correct.
Fullback for fullback.
So then
reasonable substitution. And then
Les comes on for Wood. So then obviously, like, my text to you, I'm like, what's happening? And we're not... Because in my head, I just thought, surely we're not moving Aribo back into centre-back again. Well, that would be really weird. I was thinking, are we going for a back 4? Are we actually going to start pushing more players up and deal with the midfield? Like, put an extra player in midfield. That's what I thought was going to happen because we keep getting overrun there. But no. Aribo was moved back into a centre-back position. Les was moved up. And then, yeah, as you said, we started off with pretty much the same. I think we had a couple of attempts where we somehow we're crossing the ball in too high for Onuachu constantly. We're constantly crossing it over him.
No, that was in the first half as well, and the Matty Fernandez breaking through, literally getting sick of the way the team were playing and putting the entire team on his shoulders and running past about 6 Bournemouth players before getting crowded out and not really getting a shot away, unfortunately. And yeah, if only Tall Paul was a foot taller.
He's already tall enough. It's mad, isn't it? So yeah, obviously kind of carried on a little bit, and then we realised we needed to try and do something. So that's when they decided to bring off Smallbone, and we had, everyone being upset about Smallbone. You could maybe say part of it was the excitement for Dibbling to come on, but also Dibbling's great, but also it's like every single person. Like recently, Solomana's been the guy to make stuff happen, right?
Yeah,
it's been Solomana to make stuff happen, but yeah, it seems like pundits afterwards always still talk about Dibbling. It's very bizarre. And apart from
English bias, right?
I think I think that's probably true. But like Troy Deeney talking about how he asked his 5-year-old like what we were, and they were just like, "Yes, Southampton were trash," and that was like a supposedly a legitimate quote. Never heard a 5-year-old use the word trash before, but who am I? And it's just and obviously praised Dibbling. Obviously, he did praise Sulemana, to be fair. But yeah, it's one of those things where like it just. Who is our game changers, right? We bring on
it's
another
weird sub as well, though, right? Look, because I mean, let's talk about it a bit about you getting excited about Dibbling coming on, a small cone and coming off. But at this point, our midfield then consists of Big Les because Aribo's dropped back to centre back, and Matty Fernandez is playing as a forward, and Tyler Dibbling is a forward.
You see, we're going to simply outscore our opponent, Greg.
And you know what? We gave it a good go. We put the pressure on. It felt like a goal was coming. we were building the pressure. They were geeing the fans up. We got a couple of corners. Then we got the goal. And there was belief back in the stadium. And let me tell you, Zach, that was the hope that kills you, because every person in the stadium fully believed that we were going on to see Oscar's prediction come true, and we were going to have a tall Paul equaliser.
So do we. Oscar messaged our group chat. He's unfortunately away today, but he messaged our group chat, go like tall Paul, like equaliser incoming. We all put the little shifty eyes going, we all kind of maybe believed it would happen. Realistically.
And then we realised that Bournemouth realised that we barely had a defence and didn't have a midfield, and just played a ball over the top to Tavernier, who'd just come on and was in acres of space, completely on his own on that side of the pitch, and that's it. Game done. 3-1.
But that's another thing. It's the ability to bring on players who have those fitness levels, that know exactly what their roles are, that are fresh enough to then come up against our defence that are knackered, out of position, sort of trying to learn new stuff, and then they are going to do things like that, And it's how do we get to a point where we can play like a football team again? And that's some of the things that are going to be asked. And I know that like Grombach didn't get a look in today, which I thought was slightly odd.
That would, yeah.
And people have kind of not discussed that as much. And again, like, I just feel like he's trying to do everything in his handbook and Arsenal to try and get something, and things just aren't coming together. Yeah. So people are like, "Oh, we should just immediately sack the manager." I'm like, well, no, because we can't keep doing this every time we get upset that the results aren't going our way.
Coming to the end of our time for the day, and we like to end on a positive. So I want to give not the opinion I had in the car on the way home, it has to be said, but having had a day to ruminate and reflect, I actually have come out not feeling awful, because we, for a bit of the game, stuck right in there and looked like a competitive football team. And then, yes, we went behind. But then, when we went behind, we showed something that we've not really seen at any other point in the rest of the season. Because not only did we score a goal, after we scored the goal, had, as a team, the belief that we were going to go back and equalise. And to be honest, the third goal mostly comes because we just pushed a bit too much, and we just got caught. And we had to open up to try and push the game forward. And so I don't have any real complaints about that. It is unfortunate, and it really did suck the life out of the stadium. But we got back in there and we gave it a go. And if you take it out of the context and look at it, is Bournemouth are 7th in the table, man. Like, they're a good team. They're not a team that we should be expecting to beat. And
no,
we didn't embarrass ourselves against them. We stuck in there and gave it a go. And at this point in the season, that's an improvement. And
I'll let you have your.
Disjointed, but it's going to be, because what else have we got?
I'll let you have it, because it's what, for me, it's exactly what Oscar pointed out, which is it's plucky performances.
Yeah,
right? We get one every couple of games, and if it means we don't get humiliated for the rest of the season, for sure.
Yeah.
The upsetting thing is, you're right. On paper, the game is exactly the same, and as I said, I could just basically click play on any other run I've had most of this season, and it would probably apply to this game. But then, like any game, it's unique, and there are things that could have been done that were different. There are unique challenges, and quite frankly, we have a team that are just shot to pieces on confidence. I don't think that any manager can come in and inject that confidence unless all of a sudden they put a bounty on, if every time you score a goal, you win £500,000,
Yeah,
it's going to be that way. You're right. Like, there was moments of it not being terrible.
Yeah,
it's just hard.
Yeah,
from a personal perspective, it's very difficult.
Easier next week,
and it's watching it week in, week out, understanding that is getting hard to go into these games knowing how I'm going to feel come the end of them. But Would I trade it all for the moments at Ipswich? Maybe. And that's kind of what we love about sport, I guess, right? Like,
look, the cycle is happening early this week. The optimism is already
the fact
fighting
it's
its
the day
way
after
back into me.
I feel like at this point, you just need it to justify your current expenditure going back and forth from St Mary's.
That said, I am really concerned about next week, but we will definitely get into that as the week progresses.
I'm not scared of Brighton battering us at all. I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Look, we've got a whole week to worry about that, and I'm sure that all of our concerns will come to light. And then knowing Saints will probably beat them. So it would be the strange things that you don't expect, right? So
that's what
anyway,
I'm hoping.
That is just about all we've got time for today. Zach, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, mate.
Look, are you feeling positive about the outcome? Are you feeling negative about the outcome? Let us know in the comments. Is there anything left to hope for this season, or should we just start planning championship away days now? I know where my money is at. That is for sure. But we look very much forward to seeing you tomorrow when we try and break down the tactical nightmare that was yesterday's performance. And we will do our utmost for that. Give us a shout on all of the socials, Blue Sky, X, Facebook. We have a new Facebook page. Go and give us a like, give us a comment over there. And we're on the Global Sports Podcast Network YouTube. Give us a subscribe over there and check out any of the other teams that pique your interest. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, have a good one.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.